better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, ah, I'll have what she's having.
Hey guys, this is a movie that discusses a lot of aspects of both sex work, both consensual and maybe not so consensual, and definitely highlights some familial sexual trauma, although it is fairly subtle within the movie. But we do talk about it, so if that is going to upset you, feel free to skip this one. I love you all, and stay well.
Yeah.
Natalie, I'm sorry. I'm going to cough into the microphone. I'm going to try not to. I promise. I'm going to try my best to cough away.
I love that Enya song. Cough away, cough away, cough away.
Hiya, hiya. I don't even know if that's Enya. I think it's just off that same Pure Moods CD that also had the Twin Peaks soundtrack on it.
Whatever it was, I knew when my mom popped that in the CD player, she wanted to clean, so I had to climb out my window. That is a true story. We don't even need laugh lines, though, Paige, if you want to get started.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser, and this week, Paige had us watch
My Own Private Idaho.
Now, Paige, had you seen this movie before?
I had not. I had heard the B-52 song many times, but I had not seen the movie.
I don't think I know the B-52 song that you speak.
It's of the same title. You're living in your own private Idaho. Yeah, like.
Oh, no, I have heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not one of my favorites of theirs. Let's just say that.
It's no Rock Lobster, right?
It's no Love Shack. Hello.
It's no Love Shack. Love Shack was the recessional at my wedding. We came back down the aisle to Love Shack, and sometimes Jake still cries when he hears it on the radio.
God, that's the sweetest thing I've ever laughed at. Like, God, just imagine, like, yep, you see a faded sign at the side of the road. That's just 15 miles to there. Just Jake crying all down his cheek.
You can't contain it.
Yeah, I love it. I can do an impression of the guy from the B-52s. Who knew?
Who knew? Your voice is exactly in the right kind of tone area.
Oh, yeah, I can shout sing with the best of them. Paige,
yes.
Was this the first time you saw My Own Private Idaho?
It was. This is not the first time I had heard about this movie, though. I was very familiar with it within the zeitgeist.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this movie, too.
Because this is one of River Phoenix's last films.
Yeah, I think this is 91. He died 93?
Yes, and this took a while to make. We'll get into it a little bit in fun facts. He was not doing well on the set of this movie. Now, when I pulled up the movie for us to like pick it to watch, because behind the curtain, we were going to do something else. A guest had to move a day because they had other stuff to do.
But we want to save that movie for them because it's one that they wanted to do. So we had to pivot the movie we were going to watch.
We are saving that movie for them, 100%. And then I had a second choice that I am going to find streaming so that we can do that. If you are a horror virgin person,
tell them what it is.
I will tell them.
Okay.
I'll tell them.
Because when I read the plot, I was like, fuck yeah, Paige. This seems awesome.
I was like, I want to fucking watch this, right? I found it because Joe K., who was on I watched the TV Glow episode of Horror Virgin.
Yes.
Joe has a fantastic letterbox that they update constantly, and they are the most unhinged reviews I've ever seen. And for Pride, Joe made a list of be gay and do crimes. Now, we had already done 2 or 3 of those movies, but the one we hadn't done was Heavenly Creatures. And upon reading the synopsis of it, I was obsessed. I was like, I need to watch this movie right now. It was not streaming in a ton of places in America. I'm going to keep looking. When it is streaming, we will do it just because it sounded so interesting.
Yeah, I honestly don't even care if it's in June. Like, we're going to do it whenever we can stream it. I don't care. It seemed awesome.
We'll do it whenever.
Yeah.
Joe also has a movie they specifically want to do to like tie in with a thing they're doing in their regular life. And that may fall outside of June. And I also don't care. We'll do it whenever.
Yeah, whatever. Let's just have them on. Joe's great. They're awesome.
Yes. Anyway, so after those two, I was like looking through movies that we hadn't done and came across this one. I was like, oh my God, how have we not done this one?
Yeah.
This is very famous.
It is very famous. Although I will admit I had never seen it.
Right.
And I would imagine just based on what I saw that not many people did at the time.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get to it in box office.
Yeah.
I also was unaware that it was a Shakespeare adaptation, and I'm here to tell you, I looked into the play that it is supposedly an adaptation of. Loose is generous.
It's Henry IV parts 1 and 2, right? It's like Prince Hal becoming Henry V.
It's Henry IV parts 1 and 2 and Henry V.
Yeah. Because it goes into the beginning of Henry V. Henry V goes into the war and all that shit.
Except the person that the movie thinks is the main character, although it is confused a lot of the time, is not in any of the plays.
No, I know why that is though. That's the Van Zant stand-in for sure. That is
for sure.
Him, right? That's why we never get Mike's story wrapped up at all. Mike's story is just like we spend so much time on it. There's not a resolution to literally anything in his storyline, and that's because like it wraps up all the Shakespeare storylines because that shit from another play.
Because there's an established ending that we already knew about. Yes.
Yeah. It's also like it's history, right? Because those Shakespeare plays are based on actual history. Yeah.
Yes.
So like Van Zant wrote this when he was pretty young and his story is like not fully told. So he like writes it with his stand-in falling asleep on the road because Mike is waiting for Van Zant to finish his story.
Yes.
I actually sort of love at the end of this that happens, even though it's infuriating. But like from a narrative standpoint, if you understand that that's Van Zant, you're like, fuck, I artistically get this, but I hated it. I hated it, but I get it. Thank you. That was cool, but I did not enjoy getting here.
I will also say there is some really cool camera work, really cool cinematography, really cool, interesting parts of this movie.
I get why he has a big career, Van Zant, that is.
Sure, of course.
After this movie.
Yeah.
Is this a great movie?
No.
I don't really think so. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But there are like moments of genius, I guess is my point.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
There's great performances.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
To be honest, this movie is best when it gets away from the Shakespeare, which is wild for a Shakespeare adaptation.
No, I agree. But that's all the storyline we don't wrap up because that's all Mike's storyline.
Right. That's what we don't wrap up. But that's the part that like the dialogue is interesting.
Yeah.
The characters have really human, interesting motivations. Like that is the part that I was like, I'm way invested in this story. Falstaff is cool and all, but like I'm good.
Oh, you mean Bob Falstaff? Yeah. We are okay. So first off, Paige, of course you and I clocked the Henry Shakespeareanness of it all,
right,
and knew the allegories for all the characters already because
right,
you and I are like Shakespeare nerds.
Yes.
So sorry, chat. We're just those kind of people, but we are so you don't have to be. Maybe
there you
is
go.
the right way to look at that.
We are. So you can like fast forward to the cool looking parts of this movie and listen to the B-52 song and then be like, so wait, Shakespeare? Here's my thing. And I think you'll agree with me.
Oh, wait, look, can I finish my thought really quick?
Go for it.
I think the reason you like Mike's story and not the Shakespearean side of the story, which is Prince Hal, Keanu Reeves' side of the story, is because focusing on Mike's side of the story grounds it in like an emotional reality that feels more accessible to you and I.
Yes.
Whereas the Shakespearean plays focus on like the prince becoming King Henry.
Right.
So it's like, that's like not very attainable. Like, I don't know what that's like because that's like high level king shit. Like, I don't know what that life is like.
Well, and it makes you not like Keanu Reeves. Like we spend so much time kind of establishing him as this really interesting character, and then he just throws it all away.
Yeah, he's just a performative class traitor. Like, I hate that guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's the worst. I guess he's not really a class traitor because he was born into ultimate privilege, but he like portrays himself as a low class person throughout this whole movie.
Right.
And he's just like on what maybe you could call like a 1% Rumspringa.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how else to call it.
No, that's perfect.
He like left his family like a few years ago and is like slumming it, having a grand old time until, you know, he becomes not the king. I mean, his dad's in this movie the mayor or something, right?
He's the mayor of Portland, Oregon.
But like that's the political power allegory from the Shakespeare that is in this movie.
Right.
But yeah.
I think for me, we have watched a number of Shakespeare adaptations on this show, a handful, because honestly, Shakespeare wrote a lot of love stories. This was not one of them, but this movie makes it into, I will say, an unrequited love story.
Yes, absolutely. Which I kind of love, even though it's really sad. I love that scene.
Oh, it made me so sad, but I was like, this representation is great.
Yes.
But usually what happens with Shakespeare adaptations in modern film is that they look at Shakespeare and they're like, cut all the stuff that modern audiences won't understand. which is all of the local political things that would have made sense to the audience at the time.
Yeah.
And focus on the main grounded story between these people. 10 Things I Hate About You is a perfect example where it's like, who are these people? Who are they to each other? And how does that play out?
Yeah, I really do think cutting out all of the, hyper local specific references
Right.
to like restaurant chains in London in the 1500s was a good call.
Right.
When redoing those adaptations.
Right, yes. And this movie, I feel like did the opposite, which is wild.
Yeah.
Where this movie's like, we're only going to keep some of the Shakespeare. We're going to keep the broad strokes of what happens to Keanu Reeves. But anytime Falstaff is on screen, it is word for word. And then the rest of the movie, we're freeballing it. Like, it is wild that that's the choice they made. But it makes for kind of a disconnected narrative where some parts of the movie really take you out of the emotional core of Mike's story because Mike's story shouldn't be there, technically.
Well, technically, it's the only part that isn't Shakespeare.
Even though it's the most interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also the element of because River Phoenix was not doing well at the time. I also, if memory serves, and I'll confirm when we do fun facts, there are some things he was unable to shoot.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
There is a really interesting documentary on the Viper Room, which is the bar that River Phoenix unfortunately passed away in front of.
Yeah.
And they go into his life a little bit before that happened. This is 91. He dies in 93, but as they were filming this, he was already struggling with addiction.
I mean,
Yeah.
just knowing a lot of people that have and stuff, I'm sure that was going on for a long time before he passed away.
Now, here's the other part that I will share with you because it is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and I think one of the best scenes, and that's the campfire scene.
Yeah.
Where River Phoenix actually wrote that scene.
What?
Yes, on little scraps of paper. Van Sant was under the impression that River was writing song lyrics because he didn't have a band at the time. And he was surprised when River told him he'd rewritten the scene and he liked River's version but didn't know if Keanu Reeves would be up for it. And River assured him that they'd already talked privately about it and he was fine with it. And so they shot the scene as River's version. And for me, that's one of the most impactful scenes in this movie.
I think it's amazing. We just talked about that one a little bit briefly, that it's so like, it's sad, but it's sweet. And it's like, man, it's, I think, really forward thinking for a movie that's from 91,
Yeah, absolutely.
If you know anything about the person who made the movie, then that kind of makes sense, but it's notable, right?
Yeah, there's also, River Phoenix was absent from the premiere of the film. He was a little paranoid at the time and disliked flying, and traveled everywhere by car or train and missed the premiere. Yeah. So there's a handful of things that this movie got finished kind of on a hope and a prayer, and River Phoenix does not do a ton after, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because he's great in this. I mean, I realize that he's struggling some, I guess, behind the scenes, but he does a really good performance. I mean, honestly, everyone does, like from Keanu Reeves to the Bob, like everyone's really good in this.
Yes. And he was also filming Dogfight at the same time. And Keanu Reeves was also filming Point Break at the same time. So they would film this in spurts and break up the filming.
Really? Okay.
So I think that was also why there's kind of a disconnect for some of the scenes where we're talking weeks between. So,
I mean, that's fair. I do feel like the movie wasn't really made to be watched. It was made so that like theater kids could sit in their scene study 101 class and cry for their final. Like it's like that kind of energy.
Honestly,
because it's a lot of monologues, or like
it's a lot of monologues,
like almost monologues where you have one person listening and responding occasionally, but it's mainly one character talking. Like anytime Flea is on screen next to Bob, like what Bob and Flea are doing are very much like,
yes.
I don't know, Jabba the Hutt and Salacious Crumb, which I kind of love.
Yeah. And I feel like if you were a theater kid in the early 90s and you didn't do the campfire scene, what were you doing? Come on.
I know, right?
Come on.
Yeah.
I will also note another inclusion from River Phoenix. When he originally got the script, the character of Mike was supposed to be straight.
Okay.
However, one of the actors that was working with River on Dogfight said, I think this character should be gay. And then they rewrote the script together and he plays a gay.
I mean, that does I don't know. I could see it either way. Like Keanu Reeves is also engaged in the same kind of lifestyle that Mike
Right.
or River Phoenix's character is, and identifies himself as like at least preferring heterosexual sex, if that makes sense.
I would classify Keanu Reeves as maybe bisexual but hetero-romantic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do kind of wonder if he wasn't like the son of the mayor in this movie, if that would be different, you know?
Yes, I did think about that.
Yeah. I mean, there's no indication of that in the movie, but you do kind of wonder if he didn't have the pressures of what is in store for him in a few days, literally, when they have that scene.
Right.
Like, he has an obligation to live up to that he seems like he wants to.
Right.
So he is accepting that, whether that is his preference or the performance.
Yeah, he seems to know that this is like a Rumspringa. But I also, and this is why that campfire scene is so good,
Yeah.
is because you have River Phoenix being like, I think I can love men, and I think I do.
Yeah. He says, I love you. He's like, I love you.
I love you. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and Keanu Reeves is like, you can't love men. They're men. And I'm like, I think maybe some introspection that we don't get because he gets a ton of money and runs away to, his life of privilege.
You realize at the end of this movie that he wasn't like genuine at all at any moment during this whole thing.
Yeah.
So like he's just a sociopath or whatever.
Look, hey, some of us took personality tests at work that said we might have some sociopathic tendencies, okay? So like, be nice to us.
Paige, welcome to the club, okay? Come on.
Oh, it was also at like a leadership retreat thing. And so you like look around the room and they had like markers for like what people's scores were. And I was like, oh, they picked all the sociopaths to be here.
Yeah, you know why? Guess what executive level has the highest?
100%.
Yeah, the highest like collection of sociopaths.
Yeah.
It's definitely that C-suite, baby.
It's definitely, mine was 20 pages of like, she might be a cult leader. I was like, damn it. But also, hey, like, come on. Patreon's not a cult.
But yeah, Paige, you kind of are the leader of a cult in a way. You just don't really abuse that cult at all. You just give them free content.
I try not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the personality test that they give you is basically like, here's you without a moral compass. And you're like, oh no, like, that would be bad. And then I talked to my boss and I was like, yeah, it basically gave me cult leader. She's like, yeah, or evil politician. Like, choose your own adventure.
I want to read that Choose Your Own Adventure book.
No, I've said too many crazy things.
Oh, yeah. You've said too many crazy things to be president or an evil politician. Sure. Yeah. You've said too many crazy things.
I mean, earlier today, in a fever dream of cold medicine, I told my husband this pussy be yanking, and he just said, you truly are sick, and then walked out of the room.
But he meant it like not that kind of sick. You know what I'm saying?
Sick,
He's like,
bro.
you truly are sick, girl. Come on. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat, whatever. Anyway.
Kick flipping that shit.
Anyway, Paige, maybe we should just talk about this movie scene by scene, because there's a lot of scene and not a lot of story.
Not a lot is happening.
Yeah.
First, we open with the definition of narcolepsy. That will become important throughout the film. However,
Not super important, nor is it ever resolved.
never resolved. I was curious how much research they had done with people that have narcolepsy, because it is a spectrum. As we have learned, if you watch Drag Race and follow Jinx Monsoon, America's premier narcoleptic drag queen.
It's a small list, but she's at the top of it for
She's at
sure.
the top of it.
Hell yeah, Jinx. Honestly, one of my favorite drag queens of all time.
So much.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm so glad that Jinx has like found her footing on Broadway. It's one of my favorite things.
She's on Broadway right now doing a Pirates musical and...
Pirates of Penzance?
Yeah, but it's a musical. They took out some of the operetta stuff, which is fine with me. But Natalie and I are trying to go see it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I want to go see it so bad. We love Jinx Monsoon.
I'm going to be in New York in July. I'll post tickets on Instagram. And I'm definitely going to go see Death Becomes Her. But I'm also trying to go see Oh Mary.
Nice.
And hopefully can see Cola Scola do it. We'll see. Anyway, narcolepsy. And he's hitchhiking. Bad combo.
Really bad combo, because this dude falls asleep in streets. Like,
All the time.
in the street, guys.
Streets are his favorite bed. It's a lot.
That's going to be the quote that starts off the episode description for sure.
Honestly, let me just tell you, that was the part that made me the most angry at Keanu Reeves, because I'm like, you're literally abandoning him in a foreign fucking country, and you know that he'd just be passing out in streets. Like, the fuck, bro?
Paige, it's because he found himself a good Italian woman.
Look.
And he was like, I am going to bring you back and make you my queen.
Hey, we're top tier. That pussy be yanking, maron. But like,
You are sick.
kick flipping that shit. But he's still your friend.
No, he's not, Paige. That is the flip. That is the flip. And we'll get there. But that's the flip.
I know he's not. And Keanu Reeves is evil. Yes. But I was just like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. England would be better off if River Phoenix stabbed Keanu Reeves before he, kick flipped back to the U.S.
Honestly, I'm here for that. Anyway, but we do get some notes about this road where he's like, I've been on this road before. It looks like a smile. And we do go to this road multiple times. It is the drive between Boise and like Spokane. And I only know that because I have made that drive down that road.
You've seen that face, is what you're saying?
I've seen that face. I had a comedy gig in Spokane and they booked me a hotel and they were like, your hotel is in Idaho. And I had to drive to Idaho to get to my hotel. But it was like I flew into Spokane and then had to drive like an hour and a half to like the school and then over to Idaho.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous, but it's all kind of roads like that.
It's very country roads take me home vibe. Like no one on the roads, like wheat fields on either side kind of look, that kind of thing.
Great buffalo burgers though. And I don't mean like buffalo sauce. I mean made of buffalo meat. Bison, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know you had a son that you were just saying goodbye to.
I don't know. My son made these burgers. Anyway, narcolepsy passes out in the middle of the road. And I'm like, that's bad.
He does have time to lay his like bag of stuff down and then pass out onto the bag. Like he's like tucking himself into a nice little road nap.
Well, this is why I brought up Jinx Monsoon, because if you watched Jinx's season of RuPaul's Drag Race,
I have.
She also would just kind of tuck herself in under the table and go night-night. And like, I'm glad she was in a safe space where she could be safe in those moments. But he's not. He's in the middle of the road. But anytime he like passes out, he basically has these memories of his mom and they're kind of fragmented and like the house. And we'll find out more about his mom later, but they resolve none of this.
I mean, he kind of goes on a quest to find his mother, a quest he never completes, by the way. We never meet her. We're like hot on the trail when Keanu Reeves is like, hey, I just found an Italian lady whose vagine is sick, so I'm out. And then that's kind of the end of the search.
Excuse me. Her vagina is molto bene. And here's the thing. They're not even hot on the trail because she's been gone from that place for like a year anyway. And so like...
It's a year every time they go somewhere. Did you notice that? I was like, okay,
yes.
She can't be a year from everywhere. She's not like that's like a geographical oddity. Like that's not possible.
Well, and I think it's because it's feudal. It's Sisyphean, basically.
That is what it is.
Where he's never going to find her.
For sure, yeah.
But the frustrating part from like a viewer's perspective is we spend so much fucking time on it in the movie.
Like 45 plus minutes and none of it's resolved.
And none of it has any meaning within the story.
Which I think is the point. And it's maddening.
But I hate that.
So do I. I think it's the point though, Paige. I really do think, I'm like excited. I just like jumped up. I really do think it's the point that Van Zandt is trying to make with this movie. And it's that, well, my story isn't written more or less. So like, we're going to spend a lot of time with it. But just know, I got years left to live it. So like, you're never going to get the end of this.
Hate.
Me too.
Hate. Because I'm like, why are we putting this in Shakespeare? Why are we spending all this time on this? And again, it is the more interesting part of the movie.
It is.
And I do think that what we're scratching the surface of is that like Mike is ultimately on a quest to love and be loved, period.
And to find a family, honestly. Yes.
And to find a family. And like, those are very concrete human motivations. And then it's just like, nah. But look, we wrapped up the Shakespeare stuff. And you're like, why?
Yeah.
Anyway, so anytime he kind of passes out, we get those flashbacks.
Yeah.
They're the same flashbacks every time. We don't get new information anytime.
He also seems to be triggered by things that remind him of, I think, his mother, technically, who we see in that flashback. So like when he gets to town, we see one almost immediately.
Yes. Well, and not only that, like triggered by images of his mother. And then there are pieces of the story we don't get enough information to make true inferences. but there's pieces of the story that suggest that his mom was sexually abusive.
Yeah.
And like that's a tough thing to delve into of like, it's a parent and he still has this parental attachment, but is probably a victim, but they aren't showing that part. So you don't know for sure. And it's not good.
Yeah.
We get wild credits that flash between still images and text on screen.
It's very much like you're watching just the worst PowerPoint slides that contain the
Yes.
title of the movie and then people's names who were involved in creating it. But like, it's not great.
It's not great. But we then cut to River Phoenix close on his face receiving a blowjob. We will find out that this is him participating in sex work.
Yeah.
Because he needs the money.
Yeah. And he is the one being paid too, just to be clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do love the shot. This is a wild note, but I thought it was, I wondered if it happened on accident and they just kept it. The guy tosses money onto his torso and it falls into his pants and he zips up his pants over it. And I was like,
Yeah.
That's a cool shot. Like, good job, guys.
I thought it was cool as shit too. Yeah.
But he begs that John to spot him $10 more. So that's how we know that like he has nowhere to be.
Yeah.
He is unhoused. This is his only lifeline to any sort of survival.
Yeah. This is how he is surviving.
Yeah.
On the streets. Yeah.
But we cut to another flashback, and then we cut to him in the men's room where he appears to be doing small amounts of cocaine that he can get. And honestly, I think it's to keep him awake.
I mean, yeah, because he's more or less working a corner at this point.
Right. But I just mean because of the narcolepsy. I don't know if that would work. But like uppers seem to be his drug of choice. And I think it's to keep him uppers.
Instead of sleepers.
Yeah. Downers on the street. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But he picks up another John. This John has a very complicated fetish.
Bro.
That seems to take way too much work.
Paige, this guy picks him up, drives to his place,
Yeah.
makes him take his shoes off.
Right.
And then before he gives up the booty, makes him put on booties.
Yeah.
So he doesn't track dirt around his house. It was insane.
Well, but then he makes him clean the house dressed like the Dutch boy on the cleaning, like the can of cleaning soap.
Yeah, he's super into it.
And that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of it.
Oh, Paige, that's the biggest part of it for sure.
That is the biggest part of it.
And he has what I can only describe as like Dr. Robotnik hair.
Oh, yeah.
It's a choice. It is a choice.
is.
And he is like dancing and moaning around while River Phoenix is scrubbing his kitchen, but not like touching himself sexually, but moaning like he is straight up in the throes.
Sometimes I do this while Jake does the dishes, but he usually is like, can you stop? The neighbors can see through the windows.
And you're like, yo, but them dishes is sick.
Clean. But yeah, and here's the other part of it that the movie just kind of like breezes over. Part of it is that he cleans the John after, but the John wants to be cleaned with the dish soap.
Yeah.
Like it is a punishment. Like it is an
Yeah.
obsessive clean. Yes.
I got that he wanted him to scrub him down with the scrubber he was using in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Which is like not a sponge. It's like a bristle brush.
And hey, have I paid a lot of money to Korean spas to do that to me? Absolutely. But it's a very different scenario.
And not sexual, he asked, question mark?
Not sexual at all.
Okay,
I just want to
good,
be soft.
good.
As my sister says, to quote my sister Erin, I am a dry woman with biscuit skin, and sometimes I need the flaky layers taken off.
Delicious.
You're welcome. Anyway.
Keep that pause in there, babe. Don't edit that down. I want everyone to feel as uncomfortable as I did.
You should. And then you got to put butter on it after.
Butter's the lotion, but don't eat it. That's a person.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, the guy drops him back off. And then he gets picked up again, this time by a lady.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we meet Keanu Reeves, where we find out that this lady, who lives in a very nice house, has essentially hired 3 men for the evening.
Yeah.
Because she has an appetite. And like, girl, get it.
I love that Keanu Reeves is like reading a magazine when River Phoenix gets there and he's like, hey, it's not weird or kinky. She just hires 3 dudes because there's no way we can last as long as she can. So she's got like, you know, when she finishes off one, we just like tag the other one in.
Good for her.
Which, okay, Paige, she picked up River Phoenix and it was just her in the car, which means Keanu Reeves and the other dude who's there but not talking also were picked up solo, which means the first dude has been sitting in her house while she has gone out and picked up 2 other sex workers 4 hours. And I'm not saying it's because they're sex workers, but it's because they're strangers. I would not leave strangers in my house for hours. Like, that is insane.
I think that's part of it for her.
Oh, that's so strange.
I think it's part of it because there are, how do I put this? Financial levels of escorts.
Oh, sure.
And this woman is depicted as being extremely rich, which means she could hire high-end escorts, and she is pulling boys off the street.
True.
I also think Hans might have maybe picked people up. I don't know if they're in it together or not.
Hans definitely hires them for sex at one point. So, like...
Yeah, later on, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, that's not too far-fetched.
Yeah. But because I think this is... And this, I hate saying this because it's really not kind to the sex workers that she is hiring that are doing a job. But I think she has a bit of a degradation fetish along with it. And specifically has left them alone in the house being like, maybe they'll rob me. Like, it seems like it is implying such. Because the only one among them that kind of air quotes fits in her world is Keanu Reeves. So, like, I think she has a type.
She definitely has a type, yeah. And they are underprivileged kids from the streets.
But yeah, I wouldn't leave strangers alone in my house like that.
Yeah. You know what, Paige? Summer's here, and you know what doesn't belong in your summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and 3-day weekends, the last thing you should be stressing over is things like data overages. That's why I made the switch to Mint Mobile. With plans starting at just $15 a month, Mint Mobile gives you premium wireless service on the nation's largest 5G network. That means the coverage and speed you're used to, but for way less money. I use it, and you should too. Honestly, if Beth, Michael Douglas's wife from Fatal Attraction, if she had Mint Mobile, she could have avoided getting blindsided by the whole affair that stupid Michael Douglas was having. She could have avoided having an awkward conversation in her own home with a Glenn Close who's just asking too many questions. Oh yeah. And she could have avoided the whole rabbit named Stu situation. Maybe Glenn Close doesn't boil the bunny if Beth gets a warning text, hey, there's a crazy person who's super obsessed with your husband because he's a dirtbag. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm just saying Mint Mobile could have saved lives, at least bunny lives. So this year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/romancingthepod. That's mintmobile.com/romancingthepod. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for the first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Ever notice how in romantic movies, the main characters always wake up looking flawless, even after a wild night? In real life, your sheets might be the reason you wake up feeling less than fresh. Miracle Made sheets use silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA to keep you at the perfect temperature all night, so you can sleep like a movie star. Plus, they stay cleaner and fresher 3 times longer than regular sheets, thanks to their self-cleaning technology that stops up to 99.7% of bacteria. Upgrade your sleep this year. Go to trymiracle.com/comfort to try Miracle Made sheets today. Whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo COMFORT at checkout, you'll get a free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%.
But I do like this point of the movie because it more or less becomes like The Artful Dodger and Oliver Twist if they were sex workers in Portland. But if it was written by Shakespeare's during his I'm going to figure out who I am after separating from Anne Hathaway phase.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When he moved to London and just started writing plays, that kind of Shakespeare.
Exactly. And so we do see Mike, River Phoenix's character, wander around the house. He picks up the conch and listens to it because it is implied that he's never seen the ocean. And so he hasn't been to concerts. He hasn't done anything, right?
Right. Never been to Portland even. So
Never been to Portland.
Because you would definitely see the ocean in Portland.
Yeah, eventually.
If you keep walking west, for sure.
For sure. But the woman starts to kind of undress him and he passes out. And it's depicted almost like a panic attack or a seizure.
Yeah.
And they carry him outside. I do think this is something about the trauma of his mother.
I think so too. I definitely think it's mother related,
Yeah. Anyway, so Keanu and the other guy drop him outside and basically leave him on the lawn. And then Keanu Reeves has this crazy monologue about like, come back to town and we'll do whatever. And I was like, the fuck? And then I remembered it was a Shakespeare adaptation. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
But this is like 15 minutes into what is like a normal 1991 art house movie. Like it's
Right.
in the middle of it. And you're like, oh, shit, I guess he thinks he's Shakespeare.
Okay. But he puts his jacket over him. And then he and the other guy get in a cab.
Yeah.
We cut to back in town. I'm not sure what town it is because they go to Portland later. But this is, I think, a suburb.
That makes sense, but I do not know.
No idea.
Yeah.
But we see a handful of young male sex workers out front of an adult video store.
Yeah, this is like where they're waiting to get picked up by clients.
Right. And then we go into the video store and we get a really cool set of like the covers of all of the magazines have all of our characters on them. And they kind of come to life and talk quite frankly about like who they are and what their business is. And at this point I was like, I'm here for this art house craziness. Like, let's go. But we cut to the very next day. Mike wakes up on the yard and starts trying to walk home. Doesn't know where he is, which I can't think of anything that would be more disconcerting than constantly waking up in a place and you don't know how you got there. Like, that's the scariest part of Memento.
I mean, that would be terrible. Yeah. Is this the scene where he wakes up and he's literally laying in Keanu's arms, or is that the next time it happens?
No.
Oh, that's after the German.
That's the next time it happens.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because the car that picked him up last night drives by.
Yeah.
But inside it is Hans. And he can pick up what Hans is putting down.
Right.
Where Hans is like, get in the car, though.
Yeah. Hans is like, but don't you want to make some money, though? And he's like, no, I can tell that dude's a perv.
Yeah, no thanks. And so he takes off, kind of walking away. But the stress of the interaction, he passes out. He then wakes up in Portland with Keanu Reeves holding him. And according to Keanu, and we hope this is the truth, Hans drove him to Portland or drove him back to town and asked Keanu where to drop him off. Keanu got into the car and they both went to Portland.
Yeah. I do want to point out that Keanu is holding him by a fountain.
Yes.
And on the fountain, it says, "The Coming of the White Man."
Interesting.
That's like the name of the fountain, like the name of the actual fountain.
O or U?
No,
In coming.
It's definitely O.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know,
I mean, listen, when we're talking about this movie, I definitely understand why you asked.
questions. But when Mike wakes up, he asks Keanu Reeves, he's like, how much money did you make while I was passed out?
Yeah.
Implying that Keanu Reeves essentially allowed him to be sexually assaulted and got the money. Now, here's the thing. In this scene, Keanu Reeves is like, of course, I would never do that. I'm on your side. I made sure you were safe. When we find out what Keanu Reeves' vibe is later in the movie, I think he absolutely made money.
Yeah.
Like, I think he just lies in this moment,
Yes.
which is real fucked up.
He definitely does lie. I don't know for sure that he does because we don't ever get confirmation either way, but he's definitely the kind of dude that would.
Yes. We then cut to essentially a section out of Oliver ! Because it is the Artful Dodger and all of the little thieves because Bob, aka Falstaff, comes to town.
Yeah.
And they are kind of like a ramshackle group, including Flea from the
The Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers and Jim Caviezel, oddly enough.
Yeah, Jim Caviezel's there for like 2 seconds. Yeah.
Yes. A ramshackle group that basically they are all kind of sex workers, it would imply. And Falstaff is positioned maybe not as a pimp, but as like a much more artful dodger, Fagin.
He's Fagin. He's definitely Fagin. Yeah.
Kind of somebody who like, you know, wrangles all these young boys who are working on the streets.
He's very much the king of the lower class is the way he's
Yes.
positioned, which is why he's a father figure to Prince Hal, which is actually Keanu Reeves in this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I will say, when I say young, I mean young. I mean teenagers. And like,
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is depicted as being a little older, maybe 20, maybe 19, because he does mention, hey, as soon as I turn 21, I'm out.
Yeah.
Mike is positioned as being slightly younger than him, but potentially late teens, maybe 18 or 19. But a lot of the boys in this crew, youngins, young, troubling.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bob, everyone's excited that Bob is back, but they do steal his cocaine, like as soon as they can.
Yeah.
And he flips the fuck out.
Yeah, he calls for Flea and he's like, I've been robbed, motherfuckers. Like, he's like very upset about it.
He is. Now, this is also intercut with like almost talking heads of some of the boys recounting their exploits as sex workers.
But it's like, it's very, very bad stories. Like, both of them describe pretty terrible sexual assaults. Like, yeah.
Yes. And we never get their names.
No, we do see them later, but it is very much just here's their one line of dialogue, more or less, which is kind of a
Right.
monologue, and it's heartbreaking. And then we see them in the background of a few other shots.
Right. And that's about it. So again, that's part of why we gave the trigger warning earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the roughest this movie gets with the trigger warning stuff is this.
Yeah. But Bob flips out. Now, we know that Keanu Reeves and Mike stole the cocaine. And Mike specifically took all the cocaine. So there is no more cocaine. But Bob is like, well, we're going to find these guys who are in a band and they're going to be traveling from one bar to another and we're going to rob them at night. Now, this is the part of the movie that is super Shakespearean and not great with the rest of the story.
Yeah.
It's kind of just out there and it goes on forever. We spend probably an hour with Falstaff and with all of the Shakespearean stuff in the 2 or 3 times that we encounter them, and none of it has any bearing on any of the story.
I know. Yeah.
Not even in the way that the play does. It's like, it's a lot. But they go, they encounter, they put on robes, they steal the money from these guys. But who breaks off and then changes robes, comes back and robs them again, is Mike and Keanu Reeves.
Right.
And then they show up back at the house the next day. They're like, where's the money? And he's like, we got robbed by like 20, 30 guys. I mean, like 16 guys, like 9 guys, 7 guys.
I love that monologue that Bob gives, though.
Yes.
Because they even set it up. They like arrive on a motorcycle they bought with the money they stole from the money they stole.
Right.
And then they're like, as they're walking in, you know, having just bought a motorcycle with the money they stole from this guy they're about to like make fun of, they like are like, hey man, Bob's gonna lie a ton about how many people jumped them. So let's like enjoy the lie and then call him out. Keanu Reeves is a real big dick, is all I'm saying. Like, he's the worst.
His character is the worst, although I do think his performance in this is
Oh,
great. Performances
yes.
in this, incredible.
I don't think anyone does a bad job, even Flea.
No.
But he's a bad dude, Keanu Reeves.
Bad dude.
Yeah.
But we cut to the sheriffs have arrived because Keanu Reeves' dad, the mayor, wants Keanu Reeves to basically come see him because he's like, you got to clean up your act.
Yeah.
Because I'm about to die. You're going to inherit a bunch of money. And I can't just have you like freewheeling in the streets. And he's like, fuck y'all. But so the sheriff comes and they all scatter. Keanu Reeves pretends to have sex with Mike. And I do think this is him trying to shock the sheriff, which is kind of fucked up, especially because we know, or at least from later, we'll talk about Mike has real feelings for him. And
Yeah.
it's queer baiting. It's real shitty what he does.
It's manipulation for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But he does, from his perspective, he's like, I shocked the sheriff.
Right.
But I did not have sex with Mikey.
Right?
Wait, Mike as the character in this movie, not Mikey, the former host.
Right.
Who's just going to get cigarettes. He'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, of course. But and maybe we can text him and ask him. But like, I think if Mikey had to have sex with a man, because Mikey is a straight man, that is not his preference. If he had to have sex with a man, John Wick, good choice.
Oh, you could do worse than John. I don't want to speak for Mikey, but you could do worse than John Wick for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he shows up to see his dad. And his dad's like, look, your cousin is your age and has built a business. Why should I give you any of this money? I should just give it to him. And he's like, fuck you, Dad. You don't understand me, Dad.
It's not word for word, but it's like if Shakespeare wrote what Paige just said.
Yeah. And like Shakespeare said, thou doth. It's my favorite party down line ever.
I'm just trying to think of like, and you haven't mentioned it since the very beginning, but like all like the local references they pulled out of like the Shakespeare adaptations.
Right.
I just want to hear like the Keanu Reeves version of that for like downtown Portland or whatever. Like that shit would be so funny.
I doth hang out in front of Powell's every day, and sizzle pie doth break my fast.
More cold brew and cold brew, more spirals our despair. Like just shit like that would be so stupid.
And everywhere you look, sweet potato fries in abundance.
With Postmates haste did I vault this patio for love. Or late night ramen.
I legit love Portland. It's one of my favorite places to go. I do not get there often enough.
I have not been there, would love to go.
Yeah, I think you'd really like Portland, actually. Portland's great.
I know I'd like Portland. Give me a reason to go, Robert. Because I will take shrooms with Robert from Behind the Bastards in Portland.
There you go.
If he dare.
It's a good place to do it. Jake had never been and was like, should we move here? I was like, we can't. I'm sorry. But like, Jake belongs in Portland.
He does have a Portlandic vibe for sure.
Oh, I mean, everywhere he looks in Portland, there's just more hymns. And they're all like, Bigfoot? Nah, that's just Brandon or whatever. Like, I had the best biscuit of my entire life in Portland at Pine Street Biscuit Co. And I've been to the South and ain't touching it. It's so good. I can't wait I need to go back to Portland. Jake, we're going to go back to Portland.
Take me with you.
Jake just said, yes.
Let's find a like slutty romance bookstore we can do a meetup at.
There is one.
There's probably more than one.
There's only one. It opened right after I left. I've already done the research.
Let's do it.
But they have just like a giant bookstore as well. But my boss lives in Portland now. So like,
all right.
I can find a reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at this point, Keanu Reeves is like, all right, we have a bike. Where should we go? And Mike is like, well, let's go see my brother in Idaho. He's like, I didn't know you had a brother. He's like, yeah, I've got a brother. They drive out. They get stuck on that road. The bike won't start. And this is where we get another kind of reverie of, I've been on this road before. And here's the thing. Not being as familiar with Henry IV, parts 1 and 2, and Henry V, it's not the hits. If there was a now that's what I call Shakespeare, wouldn't be on it.
Now that's what I'm calling Shakespeare, Henry IV, parts 1 and 2?
Right. That's like, now that's what I call Shakespeare part 11sies or whatever.
Right.
But I was like, these reveries about the road must be like soliloquies Hamlet style. And then to find out that character don't even exist in the play, I was like, what?
I mean, they kind of don't even focus on like the best parts of the Henriad, like, but whatever. I mean, if you want that though, watch 2019's The King. I think it's still on Netflix.
I'm good.
It's like Timothy Chalamet following Henry IV and V, like the plays.
Oh, I'm extra good. I don't need no Chalamet.
Yo, it's pretty solid.
He's too pointy for me.
You, Paige, I think you'd like it, but not for the Chalamet character, but for another character who really wins the war for him, more or less.
Okay.
But it's Falstaff, but it's...
all right. Is this like when I watched The Tudors for the Duke of Suffolk?
It's played by George Edgerton, Paige.
I'm looking him up.
Or Joel. I said George. It's Joel Edgerton.
Oh, Joel Edgerton.
Sorry.
I know who Joel Edgerton is.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry I misspoke. Apologies.
He's no Duke of Suffolk.
Maybe not, but his performance in it breaks your heart, dude. It's so good.
I mean, that makes sense. I saw Warrior. That broke my heart, too.
Fair.
Anyway, a cop pulls over, and they think because the bike is stolen that they're about to get taken in. And instead, the police officer's like, oh, yeah, I could get that bike started for you. Like,
I did think it was funny because Mike runs away and then passes out. He's like one of those goats when you startle it, it just faints. That's what happened to him, but like in the dirt. And then here's my next question, Paige. We see him passed out. We see Keanu Reeves pick him up, walk towards the bicycle that we know is already running.
Right.
And then we see a cut to him at like a trailer.
Yes.
Also carrying River Phoenix like he's still passed out.
I had to rewind that.
How did he get there with an asleep River Phoenix? That's impossible.
Right, without knowing where he was supposed to go.
Well, and also riding. Like, there's no sidecar. Was he going to hold him across like a baby in a manger the whole time?
I could not figure it out because for a hot second, I was like, is this the cop's house? And no, it's River Phoenix's brother's house. And yeah, I have no idea how they got there. The logistics are unclear, but this will turn out to not be his brother.
Or his dad.
Or perhaps to also be his brother, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so this is a little confusing. I couldn't tell based upon the monologue they're delivering or, this very intense scene we're going through.
The shouting.
Yeah, I could not tell if that was River Phoenix's brother, and his brother had made up a story because River Phoenix's brother, their shared mother had killed River Phoenix's dad, right? Or he was trying to cover.
So that's the story.
That's the story that he's trying to sell to River Phoenix, but River Phoenix was told that he wasn't his brother, that he was his dad. I don't know that he's both, is it? That's terrible. I hope it's not that.
Yeah, that's okay. There's 3 possibilities.
I don't like where this is going, but I feel you're right.
I know.
Yeah.
Possibility number 1 is that the story about her killing his father is true, and that's why she left.
Right.
And because she does leave, right? And that's the only story that has like a inciting incident for her to leave. Or that this is a person who was maybe a younger man who got his mom pregnant and was young enough to be raised as an older brother. And then the story came out that it was actually the dad. Or the most horrifying version, that River Phoenix's character is a product of incest.
Which is the third option I was hoping wasn't at all a part of it. But yeah, I could definitely see that because of the way it's worded and they talk about it.
I think it's either the killing one or the incest. And I hate that, but the way they talk through it.
That would certainly be more Shakespearean.
Not only would it be more Shakespearean, that tracks more with their story and why maybe the mom left, maybe people found out. I'm not sure. His mom, it is a weird flighty figure, but there is definitely an implication that incest could have been at play.
Yeah.
Which is bad. Any way you slice it, it's not good.
Yeah.
Oof. But we cut to, they leave that trailer and they're like, no, like, we ain't staying here with your creepy paintings. There's a lot of creepy paintings. We're going to go camp along the road. So they go and they build a campfire. And this is where we have the campfire scene. That is like the single best scene in this movie that is not connected to the play at all, but has so much heart and emotion and such a grounded performance that like, it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has understood this feeling of loving someone who does not or cannot love you back.
Yeah.
And that is essentially what's at the core of this bonfire scene or campfire scene.
Yeah.
And again, remember, this is 1991. We have a lot of language now in 2025 to discuss the nuances of the spectrum of sexual desire, sexual orientation, of gender, identity. All of that are things that in 1991 we did not have in the cultural zeitgeist that people would have understood.
Yeah.
But what they can understand is River Phoenix just saying, I don't only sleep with men for money. I sleep with men because I occasionally like it. I think I can love men. I think I do love men, and I love you.
Yeah.
You've been my best friend, but to me, you're more. And I really want to kiss you. And Keanu Reeves does let him kiss him, but before they go to bed, essentially. We don't really see it. It's kind of shot really up close, but it's definitely portrayed as Keanu Reeves being either closeted and reluctant of like, I have not even tried to wrap my mind around the idea that I might have romantic affection for men, or he just doesn't. Because we will see later that he seems very into that girl. He may be bi, he may be straight and performing sex work because gay clients pay better. Who knows? Because he is not actively sharing his emotions and feelings in this moment. River Phoenix is bearing his soul and he's giving him nothing back.
Yeah. It truly does start to reveal Keanu Reeves' real character.
Yes.
Although I do think that on some level, Keanu Reeves does care for him because he does invite him over and does kiss him. But I do think that Keanu Reeves is either just straight and, does gay sex work because it pays better, like you said, or because it's what's offered or whatever, or is bi at least and is just going to live the life that his birthright has given him.
Sure.
And either way, it's like not great because he becomes kind of terrible after this.
Yeah. Well, and I should note, because we didn't talk about it at the trailer, but his brother, potentially his father,
Yeah.
gives River Phoenix a postcard from what he claims is their mother.
Yes. And this is where they're like, oh, she's in Italy. She's in Rome. We got to go to Rome.
No, this is where she's in like a local casino.
Oh, that's right.
Driving distance away.
That's right.
Because they drive to the casino and they're like, yeah, we had a lady here, but like that was a while ago. And she saved up her money to go to Italy, which I thought was bullshit. But then they have an address for her. They go to Italy. Well, we can't just gloss over that.
Yeah.
In the casino, they run into Hans.
Yes.
From Portland. And Hans is like room 407. And they both realize that Hans is an opportunity for them to get money to go do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, because he is known to hire them or people like them for their services.
Right. And not only that, he also traffics in car parts sales, we found out.
Right. And you know what also has parts? A motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
Yeah.
So they're going to try and sell the motorcycle.
Yeah.
But we also get, and I actually strongly suspect that the way that they depict sex scenes in this movie is to try and get around the ratings board. But it's such a creative, cool way to do it. I actually really love the way that they depict sex scenes in this movie.
It kind of makes me sad because I think you're right. Like, I think we could have had sex scenes, but the ratings board sucks. And not that, like, I don't know. It is an interesting way to shoot it, but it's not at all sexy. And it's just like, it's like if you watch statues try and have sex.
Yeah, and it stills, a lot is implied, and it's you know, stylistically lit. But I do like it. I'm like, this is a different way to do this, and I don't hate it.
It certainly is an art house different way to do it, for sure.
It is. And I didn't find anything in Fun Facts that suggested that specifically that's why they did it. But it would not surprise me because that is a way to kind of get around the ratings board. And they do it again in another scene as well. But they sell the motorcycle to Hans. And then they immediately take that money before Hans realizes that the bike is stolen.
Yes.
And they buy tickets to Italy from the Boise airport, which, like, I don't know how many plane changes they had, but...
Which I think this is Jim Caviezel, who they buy the plane ticket from.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the time you see him and you're like, oh, is that is that Jesus?
Right.
And then it's just like gone.
Is that a guy that says fucked up shit into microphones these days?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
But we then cut to Hans getting pulled over and is probably shit out of luck with that motorcycle. They're probably going to figure out it's stolen.
I assume that he was going to be in some trouble. I think if he told the truth about what happened, it wouldn't be a ton of trouble, but it would be like fines at the very least.
Sure.
And, maybe a little bit of jail time.
At minimum, he's out a motorcycle.
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But Mike wakes up in Rome, on the streets of Rome, and a bunch of people are surrounding him. But who should show up? Keanu Reeves in a taxi. They drive out into the countryside and show up at this house and they're like, hi, is my mom here? Like, are you my mother? Like the, Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
And they meet Carmela, who is like, no, this is my uncle's house. But like, I know the woman you're talking about. She came here to teach me English. Full disclosure, I think the mom is dead. I think the postcard is bullshit. I think from every point after the postcard, they are just chasing random women. Like, they're like, we had a Sharon, like, yeah, or whatever. And it's not his mom. Who knows where his mom is? But this is a wild goose chase.
I don't think any of his story points are the point of the movie. And I think kind of the point of the movie is that his story is not finished and is not going to be told in this.
Right.
We're just experiencing where he is in the moment when Hal, or Keanu Reeves, is like going from, street performative Rumspringa to king or mayor.
Right. Anyway, she's like, yeah, no, she went back to America. And so, but they decide to stay because Keanu Reeves has the hots for Carmela.
I did love that.
Yeah.
Because she was clearly into him too. Like when he starts like asking her questions about, quote, the mom, River Phoenix's mom.
Right.
She's like trying to answer questions, but it's very clear like that she's like, yo, give me some of that John thick. You know what I'm saying?
Oof. I know they killed your dog, but you about to murder this pussy.
Exactly.
Anyway, they start banging a lot. Now, here's the thing. I get that they like each other and other people's emotions are not your responsibility.
Right.
However, it seemed extremely callous for him to constantly be doing it in front of River Phoenix, who he knows has feelings for him. Like, he does not care. Doesn't care. River Phoenix has no way to get back to America. Like, he's trapped there watching them. And that sucks.
It's like kind of the energy you'd expect from a future fail son.
Yeah.
I'm out here giving King Henry V shit, guys.
Anyway, Mike at one point finds Carmela crying in the meadow. And she's like, I think I'm in love. And he's like, oh, great. Like, cool. Wonderful. But then Keanu Reeves just like hands him some cash and is like, sorry, we didn't find your mom. We're going to bounce. And then they leave him at the house. Just like.
They do. They like drive away and they don't even take her dog. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Rude. Take the dog.
She gone. Like Godfather Part 2. She just gone. Right. And so they leave him at the house. He makes his way back to Rome. But like as Keanu Reeves and his soon to be new wife are in the taxi, he gets an envelope that I assume informs him that his father died.
Yes, that's how it kind of happens in the Shakespearean, in history too, I assume. Yeah.
Right. But we cut to Mike has made it back to Rome and he's outside the Colosseum because that is where the sex workers be in Rome. I know, I has been there.
That was interesting. I didn't realize that that's really where they were because they like pan over and it's just like a bunch of sex workers by these trees and then the Colosseum is right behind them.
When I was in Rome, they were like, do not go to the Colosseum after dark, that unless you are looking for a sex worker.
Oh man, I had a similar issue with Independence Hall in Philadelphia after dark, which kind of broke my heart. Yeah. But I don't think it was sex workers specifically. It was just a lot of homeless people, which makes me sad.
That is sad.
Because it means there's probably a lot of vets just hanging out at Independence Hall at night.
Yeah. I've never been to Philadelphia. I'm crossing off a bunch of cities that I've never been to this year, and I'm actually pretty excited about it.
If you go to Philly, go to Independence Hall, see the bell, and then
bust out.
just cry. Just cry.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's better than in Tokyo where we were like, hey, where are all the homeless people? Where are your unhoused? We know you have them. It's impossible that you do not have them. And they were like, they hide during the day. And I was like,
because they're ashamed.
No, I hate that. That's awful.
It's very sad. Yeah.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has made it back to Rome. He gets picked up by an Italian businessman. He immediately has kind of his panic attack, passes out.
Yeah.
He dreams of Idaho, wakes up on the plane back to Portland, which at this point begs the question, how's he getting around?
Because before this, it was Keanu Reeves lugging him around like a suitcase, I guess.
Right.
But it's like holding on like by the back of his belt or something, like carrying him on like a carry-on. But yeah, I don't know. I just like some kindly other...
Seen missing, real not found.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? He wakes up at the Portland airport. But then we cut through a very sad montage that I fucking hate.
Yeah.
Of him at the same restaurant as before where he was talking to Keanu Reeves, working the same corner, working the same with the same people. He's back with Falstaff. He's basically having the same life, but it's even worse. He is way worse for the wear. He does end up watching The Simpsons with that one guy.
Yeah.
But then the guy drops him off and he's like messed up on the street and he just looks up and sees like white smoke coming out of a building because apparently they chose the new Pope of Portland. And then
they call it Popeland for a reason, Paige.
Yes. He's asleep on the street. And then we cut to him back with Rob.
Yeah.
And Rob's new coterie of misfits.
I mean, it's the same. It's like Fagin's gang of pickpockets. Like, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
It's the same group of people, more or less. He is just now back a part of it.
Right. Although there's some new. There's a guy that looks like Captain Kangaroo.
Well, yeah, just like Fagin, he does pick up new entries. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, who should pull up on the street? Keanu Reeves. And they realize they're like, oh, he got his inheritance. And so Falstaff is, aka Bob, is like, I have waited for this day to come. He fucking owes me. And we watch as Keanu Reeves walks through this very highbrow club. He passes Hans.
Yeah.
Which I was just waiting for Hans to rat him out. But Bob, aka Falstaff, confronts him. And Keanu Reeves is like, I don't fucking know you. Like, yeah, you helped me when I was on the street, but I'm a different man now. I got money. So get to stepping.
I mean, that's very much what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big dick about it.
He's a huge dick about it. And then Bob goes back to the kind of like rundown hotel they all stay in.
Yeah.
And dies in his sleep.
Yeah.
And they have a funeral for Bob, aka Falstaff. And it's immediately contrasted with the funeral they're having for Keanu Reeves' dad. And then we pan over in the cemetery to where they are having like a wake for Bob, specifically loud to disrupt the other funeral.
Oh, yeah. They are like cheering and like honestly just shouting his name and like, you know,
Screaming.
yelling and just, yeah, like loving Bob, like shouting him into
Right.
the afterlife, kind of.
Absolutely. And then we cut to Mike on the road again. He passes out. We pull back forever. And then we push in forever. We see him get robbed while he's sleeping. We see another car stop and just load him into the car and drive off.
Yeah.
And then we get a shot of the farmhouse and a title card that just says, "Have a nice day."
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you think about My Own Private Idaho?
It's unfortunate that the parts I like the most are unresolved.
Yeah, I mean, I do think I understand why that is, but I don't love the fact that we don't get a
Yeah.
resolution for the only story I truly cared about and was original to this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
there, in fun facts, there are other things that Van Sant was trying to get at as far as themes that I don't think are represented as well in the movie, but I think are really interesting themes to examine. I just don't think this is the story to do it in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of a sad movie. I didn't love watching it. It felt like I was watching a bunch of scenes that like you would see in a like scene study class 101 kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was like written for acting nerds to break down and analyze. And I think that that's why it is so like you have so many great performances in this because so many of the scenes are just like Keanu Reeves cooking.
Yeah.
Or, you know, River Phoenix cooking or the guy who played Bob, who unfortunately isn't a household name at this point, but like he was great, you know, just cooking up awesome scenes. But like, it's not awesome to watch because the pacing's all over the place. And like you said, the story I care about and you cared about
Yeah.
is never resolved.
No, it's not.
It sucks. I hated that part of it, but I think I understand why. And yeah, I get it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts.
Idaho fun facts. The state fruit of Idaho is the wild huckleberry, and the state fish is the cutthroat trout. The state gem is the star garnet, and their state motto is Esto Perpetua, from the Latin meaning be eternal.
Fantastic. I love these Idaho fun facts.
Thank you.
That cutthroat fish was named after Keanu Reeves' performance in this movie, though.
Cutthroat.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, back to the movie, though. So, the scene with all the boys on the cover of the porno magazines come to life was done practically.
It has to have been.
Yes.
But it looks like the best version of the Brady Bunch opening.
It does.
You know, where they're like looking up at each other and around and talking to each other. Because like the eye lines work pretty well. Like it's shot
They
pretty
do,
well.
but it was all filmed separately because CGI was still very expensive at the time. They couldn't use it.
Yeah.
So the pieces were filmed with actors standing behind large pieces of plexiglass with the mock magazine cover painted,
I'm sure.
reverse painted on it. Then they cut those into a large matte painting that is the shelf, which it is a very short scene. That's a very extensive process to get it, but I love
Yeah.
it. That's one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
It comes across really, really great. And I mean, this is one of those moments of like, I'm going to make up a word, but cinematographic genius that like you see in these movies that you're like, oh shit, I get why this guy went on to be like a famous writer-director guy. Like there are some moments of genius here.
Yes. Throughout the movie, there are interspersed images of a falling barn, and that was something that Gus Van Sant used to paint for years. He said that it represented leaving home and knowing that you'll never be able to return.
Okay. Yeah.
So he also gave copies of John Rechy's novel City of Night to both River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves to help them get into the mindset of street hustlers. Keanu found the book very useful and went on to read a bunch of other novels by the author. But River reportedly stopped reading after the first paragraph and said, quote, he had his own background to draw on. This is where my cult podcast hat gets to come on.
Uh-oh. Okay.
The Phoenix family was part of the Children of God cult,
Oh,
aka
yeah.
Family International.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yes. This is a religious sect that encouraged sexual relationships between both children and adults
Yeah.
as a means for both recruiting into the group, but also as a means for getting closer to God. Their leader routinely abused children and, in fact, adopted children so that he could continually abuse them. Joaquin Phoenix has not talked about it a ton. I believe he was potentially a little too young when the family got out of the group, but allegedly River Phoenix was potentially abused very badly within the group.
Ugh.
And hurt themselves sometimes, unfortunately. And that is the case of what happened with River Phoenix. He did begin using heroin on this movie, along with another cast member. I do think that potentially the source material may have been too close to his personal trauma.
Yeah.
And that might have contributed to him, unfortunately, turning to substances in that moment. So in late 1990, Keanu Reeves rode his motorcycle from Canada to Gainesville, Florida.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a long way.
That is a very long way.
Yeah, to hand deliver a copy of the script to River Phoenix because Phoenix's agent refused to show Phoenix the script. If you will remember, let me look at a date on this.
That's insane. You know what's faster? Almost any other method of travel. Like flying, obviously, but wow, okay.
Right.
That's a long ride.
Now, and you might be thinking, like, fucking why? Like, why wouldn't his agent show it? Because the year before this, River Phoenix had been in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And so I think his agent was trying to project more of a, air quotes, clean-cut image for media at the time to try and get him more big blockbuster roles. And I think River was more interested in doing movies like this.
I mean, he was definitely set up for that next level of a career, right? Because he was a kid actor, obviously. Right. But like, he obviously was going that direction, much like Keanu Reeves did with a lot of great success. Like, I get why his agent would be like, maybe don't do that art house film that's like really on the line. But like, I think he made the right call because he's great in this. I hope it I hope it didn't contribute.
He got critical acclaim for this movie.
Yeah,
so
he's
like,
amazing in it. I just feel bad that it may have triggered some stuff in him. Like, that's terrible, but his performance is amazing.
That is me speculation zoning.
Sure.
That's just other things I happen to know about him.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, many members of the cast moved into Van Sant's old house in Portland during filming, but apparently they partied so hard and so often that Van Sant had to move out of his own house and stay with a friend.
Wow. Okay.
He's like, I gotta finish this movie. In an interview for the Criterion Collection, Todd Haynes, who's a filmmaker and critic, told Van Sant that the campfire scene is critical to the film's success. Quote, before the scene, it's almost like all the kids are victims of homosexuality. But then there's the scene where they all sit around telling their stories, being, unfortunately, I'll say sexually assaulted and abused. And it's not until River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves sit around the campfire that you see one of the hustlers being gay in an all-natural environment with no money changing hands, but realizing that despite the situation he is in, there is still a spectrum of feeling about it.
Yeah.
And there is a division between his personal preferences and his sex work.
Yeah, I would imagine that's true for anyone in that line of work.
Yes. Mike and Scott were based on and named for two sex workers that Van Sant met while writing the script. One of them appears in the cafe scene.
Really? Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. The campfire scene was also the last scene filmed for the movie.
Okay, yeah.
Which I think actually kind of fits. Like,
yeah.
And it was filmed on a soundstage. It was not filmed
in the wild,
out in the desert.
Yeah.
And I'll end on this one. The time-lapse footage is meant to represent the dreams and flashback of River Phoenix's character during his narcoleptic episodes, and they used Super 8 footage. But the time-lapse footage of nature was not originally included. The cinematographer shot it himself using unused film left over from the day's shooting. Van Sant didn't learn about it until production was nearly complete and they were going into the edit. And those are your fun facts.
What? That's crazy. Thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for My Own Private Idaho in 1991?
I'm going to say this cost $2 million.
Paige, you are very, very close. It was $2.5 million, which if you adjust for inflation would be right around 5, almost 5.9. It's technically 5.88 million today. This movie initially came out on September 4th, 1991 in Venice. I'm assuming that it was at one of the many film festivals, but it looks like it had a release here in the U.S. September 29th, again, of 1991. It didn't do great in theaters. I don't have the week-over-week numbers because it didn't track for every movie from this time period, and it just didn't do great. So it didn't track their week-over-weeks. But what do you think it made domestically at the box office in 1991, Paige?
Ooh, I think this makes probably only 1.5.
It actually did a little bit better than that. It was $6.4 million. So it definitely made money, which when you release an art film that has a predominantly gay character in the 90s, you don't expect. So like, that's awesome. I was glad to see that. If you adjust that $6.4 million for inflation to today's numbers, that would be just over $15 million. It also did get $1,579 internationally, which was from a very limited Australia and New Zealand run, but not much to speak of internationally. But that's your box office. Paige, do you want to hit us with that romance scale?
Sure. Our romance scale is a scale of 1 to 4 of how romantic we found the movie Todd.
I'm going to give it a 1. I don't think it's super romantic. It's like unrequited love. So it's more sad than sweet and romantic.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the story isn't great, but it's sad.
Yeah.
Because Keanu Reeves is a monster.
I know. I just want better for Mike. Where
Me
I'm
too.
just like, you have so much love to give.
Yeah.
And you are worthy of receiving love.
Right?
So yes, I would also give it a 1.
But instead of like, having closure to Mike's story, we just get like this narcoleptic Irish goodbye with his story in the movie, and It just ends.
I hope the person who picked him up off the street isn't a murderer, but we never know.
I mean, if Gus Van Zant's still alive, I think there's a chance we get the rest of the story.
Maybe. But that's going to be your romance scale.
Do you want to hit up with the roar scale? I don't really think there's any roars to go around because all of it is like if you watched statues trying to have sex, like Greek statues, like remove the leaves and bone. Like that's what this looks like.
I don't know. It kind of did it for me. I'm going to give it a 1.
All right. I mean, I definitely would give it a 1 by default because that's the lowest we can go because I'll never go negative. You know me. Got to keep it positive, Paige.
Yeah. And that's your roar scale.
So, Paige, this week you made us watch My Own Private Idaho. So your homework next week is to watch a movie with Bowen Yang, Lily Gladstone, and a bunch of other great people in a movie called The Wedding Banquet. It just came out this year. I'm pretty excited to see it. I haven't seen it either. So we'll be watching that for next week, and make sure you get it watched so you can check back next Thursday for the episode.
Do you have any reviews for us, Todd?
I do. This week I'm going to read a Spotify comment from our most recent Color of Night episode, and this one's going to be from Bookworm 13 because it was my favorite. Well, I had 2 favorites. I'll read both of them. Deal with it, Paige. This one is from Bookworm 13, and they said, Todd, don't you dare change the way you say narrate.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing. I beg you. So I will continue to say narrate at the behest of Bookworm 13. But I also do want to read Casey Rudd's comment because they said, Todd screaming she didn't fall out the window, she descended from orbit has me dying. That's phenomenal. Because that movie in The Color of Night, that lady fell for like 18 seconds. I did the math. It was like over 3,000 feet or some shit like that.
Yes.
Or no, it was like 30,000. It was crazy. Like, it was insane. Anyway, I'm glad you guys liked my frustration with that. But if you want to have me read your 5-star Apple review and or Spotify comment, leave us one of those things and I'll do just that. So yeah, if you guys like this show and want to hear our other show where we talk about horror movies, that is The Horror Virgin. That's the only other podcast I am on, but Paige is also on Cult Podcast, which you can find at Cult Podcast. And you can find us on social media. I am at Todd J. Awesome, literally everywhere. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Instagram.
No, it's at Rampage Wesley on Instagram and TikTok, at Paige Wesley on Twitter.
That's right. All right. So that's where you can find Paige. If you want to find the show, we are at Romancing the Pod Show, right?
Yep. Romancing Pod Show on Twitter.
Well, and Instagram, right?
And Instagram, but it's show SHO because character limits. If you start typing Romancing the Pod, it'll come up.
It'll definitely come up on Instagram. I don't know about Twitter because I haven't posted on Twitter in a hot ass minute. So like, Who knows? But that is where you can find more of us. So yeah, guys, give us a follow. Support the show any way you can. We'd love it.
Smash that like button.
Hell yeah!
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
Shakespearean pletion. Bye! Not much happens with this movie, nerds.